5 million, my girlfriend's mother said, sliding a bank card across the table. A loan. But if you fail to pay it back. She smiled. You'll marry into our family. Her ex-husband, my future father-in-law, thought I was a fool. A broke college kid playing with fire. They didn't know this was my second life. While they saw me gambling on an unknown game studio, I saw the birth of a billion-dollar empire. While I was coaching my clueless roommate on how to talk to a girl, I was blackmailing her father with a single text message. Everyone thinks I'm just a shameless slacker who somehow landed the prettiest girl on campus. They're about to learn a very expensive lesson. In the game of love and money, the man who has lived before doesn't just play to win. He rewrites all the rules. After lunch, Evan headed to the office. Victoria had called to say she'd hired a receptionist and wanted him to meet her. The new girl looked familiar. This is Ruby Ruan, Victoria introduced. A junior from the insurance school. I feel like I've seen you before, Evan said. We have, Ruby smiled. At the freshman welcome party. Victoria and I danced on stage. You were in the audience, sneaking glances at her the whole time. Nonsense, Evan shot back, flustered. I was looking openly and respectfully. Don't make me sound like a creep. Ruby giggled. Victoria, you were right. He really is shameless. After Ruby left with a playful wink at Evan, he turned to Victoria. You know, hiring your own friend is technically nepotism. Oh please, she scoffed. Everyone in this company is either your roommate or your classmate. If I'm guilty of nepotism, what does that make you? Touched, Evan immediately changed his tune. Actually, I think Ruby is a great choice. Pretty, personable. She's overqualified for a receptionist, really. Just then his phone buzzed. It was a message from Charles Jiang. Evan excused himself and called him back as he walked out of the gym. Mr. Jiang, he began. I'm about to send you a contact, Charles said, getting straight to the point. Add him. He'll tell you what to do. You can start installing machines at the Handan and Fenglin campuses of Fudan University first. Evan's business was expanding, all thanks to a father who was secretly trying to support a daughter too proud to accept his help. Charles was using Evan as a middleman to ensure Victoria benefited financially from the company's success without ever having to take money directly from him. After arranging the Fudan University visit, Evan was heading back to his dorm when he saw Sophie Wong and her roommates. He stopped to say hello, but Sophie barely looked at him and said nothing, a stark contrast to her usual friendliness. He shrugged it off and continued on his way. Back in his room, he told Leo the good news about Fudan. Just as he was about to message Claire, his cousin Raina sent him a picture of a complex math problem. Hey Evan, can you solve this? He glanced at the jumble of letters and symbols. My English has always been terrible. Ask me anything else, but I'm useless with English. That's math, she texted back. It's for the math Olympiad. A moment later, another message came through. No wonder Claire calls you an idiot. You really are one. The new week was a whirlwind. On Monday, Victoria held interviews. Evan sat in, and they hired Hannah Xia, a senior, for the customer service role. Of the 5 guys who applied for the sales positions, Evan hired the 3 who didn't flinch when he explained the low base salary and high commission structure. On Tuesday, he and Leo successfully scouted locations at the 2 Fudan campuses. When Evan got back to the dorm, Frankie was missing. A quick message to Thomas revealed he'd gone to the office right after lunch. Curious, Evan and Leo went to investigate. They found Frankie at a desk, back to the door, furiously typing. They crept up behind him and read over his shoulder as he chatted with Mimi. He was telling her he was the procurement manager of his new company. She was calling him Big Brother. Evan slapped him on the back of the head. Frankie spun around, minimizing the chat window instantly. I can't believe you, Evan said. You spend the whole afternoon here, hitting on your online girlfriend? He turned to Victoria. Doc Frankie's pay. 200. For real? She asked, her eyes lighting up at the mention of salary deductions. For real, Evan confirmed. And Frankie, he added, his tone serious, I'm warning you. Flirt all you want online, but don't you ever think about meeting her in person, especially not anywhere near the Myanmar border. It's not safe there. The next day, Evan took Frankie to the vending machine factory. This is the last time I'm walking you through this, he said sternly. From now on, procurement is your job. If you want to be a part of this, then be a part of it. If not, don't be dead weight. Frankie understood. Got it, he said, sitting up straighter. From now on, money first, studying second, online dating third. That night, Evan called Claire. He could hear the hint of complaint in her voice when he told her how busy he'd been. If it doesn't rain this weekend, he said, I'll come see you. It won't, she replied immediately. I already checked the forecast. Her roommates overheard and chimed in, suggesting they all visit Evan's school. The more the merrier, Evan said into the phone. I promise I'll be a good host. As he was talking, he was already typing a message to Kevin. Kev, get to my school this weekend. It's an hour and a half each way, man. That's a pain. Evan typed back, my girlfriend is coming, and she's bringing her 3 single roommates. Kevin's reply was instantaneous. Dad, should I come Saturday or Sunday? With the office up and running, Evan completely stepped back from the fruit shop. He gave Thomas and Evelyn a raise to cover Frankie's old delivery duties. On Thursday, He held a meeting with his new salesman. All right, everyone, he began. Do you know the most important quality in this line of work? They looked back at him, a group of upperclassmen listening to a freshman. It's shamelessness, he answered his own question. In sales, having a sense of shame means losing face. But being shameless means gaining face. Don't let your age hold you back. If you think people will look down on you, you're already looking down on yourself. Even Victoria and Ruby paused their work to listen. Evan was surprisingly charismatic. You're going to get rejected, he continued. You'll get doors slammed in your face. But it doesn't matter. Nobody remembers your embarrassing moments except you. Smart people focus on the present and the future. So don't carry any baggage. We're all living for ourselves. He then launched into a strategy session, referencing the movie The Wolf of Wall Street, to explain how to create demand. After the meeting, Ruby leaned forward, her chin in her hand. Boss, where can I watch that movie you mentioned? My roommate has the uncut version on his laptop, Evan grinned. I'll send it to you tonight. On Friday, Evan messaged Claire to finalize their plans. He playfully asked if he should book 2 rooms or 3, suggesting they could share one. She flatly refused, but her messages were lighthearted. Later, at lunch, he saw Thomas looking worried. Still no student aid? He asked. Thomas shook his head. The counselor said it would be here this week. Give me your phone, Evan said. He took Thomas's cheap, laggy phone, opened the chat with their counselor, and typed. Dad, my living expenses are almost gone. The financial aid still hasn't come through. I think the teacher forgot. Can you send me next month's allowance early? The status indicator showed she was typing. He quickly sent another message. Sorry, professor. Wrong person. Her reply came a moment later. It's okay. The aid will be dispersed by 5 p.m. at the latest. Smiley face. Evan handed the phone back to Thomas, who read the exchange and blushed beet red. Don't worry, Evan said. She knows your situation, and she probably already guessed it was me who sent that anyway. On Saturday morning, the girls of room 205 were a flurry of activity. Going to Evan's school was an event, and they were dressing to impress. Claire agonized over her wardrobe before finally choosing the long, white down jacket Evan had bought for her. As her roommates were busy with their makeup, she secretly tucked a black scarf she'd bought for him into her bag. An hour-long taxi ride later, they arrived at the Shanghai University of Finance and Economics. Claire called Evan, who was already waiting at the fruit shop. He came jogging to the school gate to meet them. Well, look at you 4, he said, his eyes wide. Why is everyone so beautiful today? The compliment instantly erased their travel fatigue. Victoria laughed. We all got up early to do our makeup just to see you. Satisfied? Evan walked straight to Claire's side and took her hand. She tugged a little, muttering things like jerk and idiot under her breath, but didn't pull away. She tugged a little, muttering things like jerk and idiot under her breath, but didn't pull away. As they walked through campus, the 4 girls from the art school turned heads everywhere they went. Evan, standing in the middle of them, felt a surge of pride. Victoria, he said, looking her up and down. I never realized you had such a great figure. Claire, you need to control your man, Victoria retorted, feigning offense. Stop him from staring. Can you please shut up? Claire finally said to Evan. He mimed zipping his lips and led them to the fruit shop. The 3 roommates saw the sign, Ching Ching Fruit Shop, and exchanged knowing smiles. The boss's wife should care about how much the boss makes in a month, shouldn't she? Jessica teased Claire. Claire, who just shook her head, looking genuinely confused. Just then, Kevin called to say he was on his way. Evan told him to meet them at the new office. As they left the shop, Evan tried to take Claire's hand again, but she dodged him, a playful chase ensuing until she finally stopped, her arms crossed. But she dodged him, a playful chase ensuing until she finally stopped, her arms crossed. We can't even hold hands, he whispered. She kept her head down. There are too many people. She was still shy about public displays of affection. He looked at her, a little disappointed. She glanced up at his face, then said softly, we can. Tonight. Is that okay? Okay. Evan's heart melted. That was more than okay. They walked to the gym, and Kevin was already there, looking nervous and overheating despite the cool weather. I told you not to call me that. Kevin hissed at Evan under Kevin's breath when Evan greeted Kevin. Evan introduced Kevin to the girls. And Kevin could barely make eye contact, just offering a shy nod. Kevin led them all to the office, where Leo, Frankie, Victoria, Hannah, and Ruby were already working. The arrival of 4 beautiful art students had an immediate and dramatic effect on the room. Frankie's jaw literally dropped. After a round of introductions, the girls quickly fell into conversation. While they were distracted, Kevin nudged Evan. Are they all single? All of them, Evan whispered back. But forget about Victoria Zhang. You can't handle her. When are they leaving? Tomorrow afternoon. Where are they staying tonight? A hotel. Evan is booking 2 rooms for them after dinner. Kevin paused, then grabbed Evan's arm. Are your dorm beds big? What are you getting at? I want to stay over tonight. Sleep in Evan's dorm. It's a bunk bed, Evan said, then slung an arm around Kevin's shoulder. How about this? Evan will book 3 rooms. We'll share one. and Evan will figure out a way to get Kevin their contact info. Bro, you're the best. Even better, Evan added. Tomorrow, Evan will create an opportunity for some close contact. Dad, my entire future happiness is in your hands. At 11:30, Evan interrupted the chatter. All right, everyone, let's go get some lunch. As the large group walked toward the school gate, Jessica asked, Are we going far? Not really, Evan said. About a 20-minute walk to the plaza. Let's walk then, Jessica decided. On the way, Victoria asked about the plan for the afternoon. Nothing for this afternoon, Evan said with a grin. But I have something for tomorrow morning. There's an indoor haunted house about half an hour from here. I hear it's pretty scary. Sophia and Claire both looked nervous. Don't worry, Evan reassured them. There are a lot of us. You can just stick close to Evan. Kevin, walking silently at the back of the group, suddenly understood. The haunted house. That was the opportunity. It was brilliant. A scared girl will instinctively grab onto the nearest guy. Kevin had learned something new. The only problem was, Kevin was scared of haunted houses too. Evan led the group to a hot pot restaurant on the 3rd floor of the plaza. It was the perfect choice for a cold day. As the broth began to boil, Evan kicked off the conversation, asking the girls how they got there. When Claire mentioned the 43-minute taxi ride, it only solidified Evan's plan to buy a car by the end of the year. It would cut Evan's travel time to see Claire in half. Kevin, trying to join in, mentioned how much longer Kevin's own trip was. Sophia smiled. You must be really good friends with Evan to come all this way every week. From across the table, Evan saw the goofy expression on Kevin's face as Kevin looked at Sophia. It was obvious. Kevin was smitten. Evan knew Claire's roommates well enough by now. Victoria was the toughest to win over, and Jessica was more assertive than Jessica looked. But Sophia was the quiet, gentle type who paid attention to details. Kevin was a decent guy, but Kevin had a fatal flaw. Kevin was hopelessly shy around any girl Kevin actually liked. Seeing Kevin fall silent again, Evan stepped in. Evan told a story about how Evan had practically dragged Kevin to Shanghai for college, weaving a narrative that made Kevin seem loyal and dependable. Then you really have to take responsibility for Kevin, Sophia joked. Of course, Evan said. Wherever Evan goes, Kevin's right there with Evan. Evan then smoothly transitioned to talking up Kevin's skills, mentioning how good Kevin was with computers. Jessica immediately took the bait, asking for a recommendation for a new laptop. Before the clueless Kevin could just list off model numbers, Evan cut in. There are too many to remember. Why don't you all add Kevin on WhatsApp? Kevin can send you the links directly. Jessica readily agreed. Under Evan's watchful eye, Kevin nervously passed Kevin's phone around, collecting new contacts from Jessica and Sophia. After lunch, Evan suggested a movie. The girls chose a critically acclaimed crime thriller over a martial arts film. Evan bought the tickets online just before they got in the elevator. There are no 6 seats together, Evan announced, handing out the tickets. Claire and Evan will be in the back row. You 4 will be in the 6th row. As Evan handed Kevin Kevin's ticket, Evan gave Kevin a subtle, encouraging look. Evan had made sure Kevin's seat was right next to Sophia's. The lights dimmed. In the darkness of the back row, Evan's hand found Claire's. Claire tried to pull away twice, but Evan held on tight, and Claire eventually gave in. Evan had already seen the movie, so Evan's attention was entirely on Claire. Evan pushed up the armrest between them and draped Evan's arm around Claire's shoulder. Claire turned Claire's head, Claire's eyes wide and shimmering in the faint light from the screen. Claire looked at Evan with an innocent, questioning gaze that seemed to ask, Idiot, what are you trying to do? The movie lasted for over 2 hours. By the time the credits rolled, Claire had no idea what the plot was about. Kevin, on the other hand, came out buzzing, dissecting the lead actor's brilliant performance. Evan could have strangled him. I set you up to sit next to Sophia so you could talk to her, not to actually watch the movie, he hissed as he dragged Kevin toward the bubble tea shop. But she was watching the movie, Kevin said, genuinely confused. I didn't want to bother her. Evan explained that he had deliberately bought separate seats, even though the theater was half empty, specifically to put them together. I give you an opportunity, and you don't even use it. I'm sorry. Help me out, man. I really like her. Evan sighed, then began his coaching. All right, listen up. At lunch, what kind of hot pot did Sophia have? Tomato-based. Exactly. But the last time we all ate together, she ate spicy food. And what did she ask for just now with her bubble tea? She wanted it hot. Put it together, you idiot. She's probably on her period. This is when a girl is at her most vulnerable. Kevin's eyes widened in realization. Tonight, you are in charge of dinner, Evan instructed. Buy whatever for the others, but get something different for Sophia. Something warm and comforting, like congee. What do I say when I give it to her? Don't say it specifically for her. Just say you noticed she was eating light at lunch, so you thought she might prefer it. Details, man. Details determine everything. Evan then ordered 6 bubble teas, all hot, with 4 of them at half sugar. Girls worry about their weight, he explained. This way they can enjoy it without feeling guilty. He had Kevin deliver the drinks, making sure he was the one to hand Sophia her tea. Later, at the hotel, they decided to play a game. Evan introduced them to Werewolf, a social deduction game that was still relatively unknown. He called Leo to come over and be the game master, but Leo brought his girlfriend Yana, giving them a perfect group of 8. They played for hours, the room filled with laughter and accusations. As evening fell, Evan stood up. I'm getting hungry. Claire and I are going to get dinner. We'll have Kevin bring some food back for the rest of you. He took Claire's hand and led her out. Kevin followed them out of the room. After a few steps, Evan stopped and turned. What are you doing? Aren't we going to eat? Don't you realize you're a third wheel right now? Kevin looked confused, but then comprehension dawned on his face. Right? I'll go get their food. As he walked away, Evan called out softly, Claire? She turned. He smiled. Is that black scarf in your bag for me? Claire froze. She had completely forgotten about the scarf. She stammered for a moment, then finally said, You already knew, so why did you ask? Evan held out his hand. Let me see. Since they were alone, she pulled the soft, high-quality scarf from her bag and gave it to him. He examined it, then handed it back and bowed his head. Well, you have to put it on for me. She glanced around nervously, then carefully wrapped the scarf around his neck. As he straightened up, she gave his head a light, playful tap. So, how do I look? He asked, striking a goofy pose. Ugly, she said, trying to hide her smile as she walked ahead. They found a small noodle shop and ordered 2 bowls of beef noodle soup, no scallions. After the food arrived, Claire deliberately left her hair tie on the table as she began to eat, her long hair out of the way with her hand. As expected, Evan noticed. Why don't you tie your hair up? She turned her head slightly, a hint of a smile on her lips. You do it for me. He got up, picked up the black hair tie, and gently gathered her silky hair into a ponytail. She continued eating, the steam from the hot noodles warming her face. For the first time, she didn't blush. Meanwhile, Kevin was on his mission. He bought 3 nice rice bowls for the others, then ran to a congee shop 500 meters away and ordered a special millet and pumpkin congee, with a side of spring rolls. He ran all the way back to the hotel, checking the container every few minutes to make sure it was still warm. After dropping off the rice bowls with Victoria and Jessica, he stood outside Sophia's door, his heart pounding. He practiced his lines over and over before finally knocking. There was no answer. Just as he was about to give up, the door opened. Sophia stood there in her pajamas, rubbing her wet hair with a towel. Sorry, she said. I was in the shower. Kevin just stared, completely dumbstruck. She waved a hand in front of his face. Hello? Are you okay? He snapped out of it and thrust the food at her, the words he had rehearsed a dozen times coming out in a stammer. I bought rice. And congee. I saw. You ate light at lunch. So, do you want the rice or the xiaomi nangajo? The congee is still hot, he blurted out. I ran all the way back. Sophia took the congee, a warm smile spreading across her face. I'll have the congee. Thank you. She started to close the door, but he just stood there. Is there anything else? She asked. He shook his head, bright red, and scurried into his own room across the hall. Sophia watched him go, then laughed softly to herself. That Kevin is so dorky. As Evan and Claire walked back from the noodle shop, the pace was slow, more like a stroll under the moonlight. After a long, comfortable silence, she stopped. He turned. What's wrong? She stood her ground, pouting slightly. There's no one around now. Why aren't you holding my hand anymore? Evan immediately walked back and took her hand as if it were the most precious thing in the world. He led her across the street, away from the hotel. Where are we going? Your room has Sophia in it, so I can't exactly come over. It's still early. Let's find a quiet place to chat about life. Who wants to chat about life with you? She grumbled, but she followed him anyway. He found an empty bench surrounded by trees, illuminated by a single street lamp. They sat, and he never let go of her hand. It's nice to have some quiet after such a loud afternoon, he said, taking a deep breath. What are you usually doing at this time? She asked. Thinking about you. She gave his thigh a light pinch. Be serious. He laughed. Okay. If I don't have class, I'm usually at the office. I eat around 5:30. So right now, I'd probably be in my dorm, doing laundry. Don't you have washing machines? We do, he said. But people wash all sorts of disgusting things in them. I've been washing my clothes by hand ever since I saw someone put their sneakers in one. I bet you don't wash them clean, she said. He feigned offense. Why would you say that? Because during the movie, she mumbled, I could smell the soap on your shirt. He grinned. So you were smelling me, huh? No, you made me lean on your shoulder. Her face turned red, and before she could pull away, he gently pulled her into a hug. Let go, she protested, her small fists patting uselessly against his puffy jacket. Just a little while, he whispered. How long is a little while? 5 minutes. No, that's too long. Okay, 4 minutes and 50 seconds. She huffed. You only took off 10 seconds. Then how long? He asked, holding her tight. 1 minute, she declared firmly. Okay, your call, he said, a smile creeping into his voice. Starting. Now. She actually started counting. When she got past 30, he started counting along with her, but after 39, he mischievously said 30 again, completely throwing her off. 38, 39, 30, 31. When she realized his trick, she cried, "Hey, you cheated. Let's start over. I won't cheat this time, I promise." A minute has already passed. He just smiled. If only time could stop right now. At his words, she stopped struggling. She rested her head against his neck and looked up at the moon. They stayed like that in comfortable silence until he finally loosened his grip, though they remained close, her head on his shoulder. "What do you think of Kevin?" he asked quietly. "He seems okay. I didn't notice anything bad about him." "He likes Sophia," Evan said. Claire sat up, surprised. "Really? But they just met today." "Love at first sight," he shrugged. "Just like us." Kevin was up before the sun, woken not by an alarm, but by the sheer force of his romantic ambition. He found Evan still asleep and gave the bundled blankets a firm shake. "Evan, wake up." Evan cracked open an eye. "What?" "I'm going to buy breakfast." "Are there any special instructions?" Evan pulled the covers over his head. "No instructions. Just buy a little of everything." Kevin, ever the diligent student, did exactly that, returning with an assortment of buns, dumplings, and fried dough sticks. Evan, now awake, sent a message to the girls' group chat, inviting them over. Soon, they were all gathered in the hotel room, eating the breakfast Kevin had so thoughtfully procured. Evan watched as Kevin, in a misguided attempt to appear diligent and tidy, started making his bed in a hotel room that they were about to check out of. Evan had to physically stop him. "Kev, come eat. You went out in the cold to buy all this. At least have some while it's hot." After breakfast, they checked out and took the subway to the mall where the haunted house was located. It was called Yuming Manor. They had several themes, and Evan chose one called Rise of the Coffin. As they walked down the dark corridor to the entrance, lined with bloody handprints and other spooky decor, Claire instinctively moved closer to Evan. After a safety briefing, they were allowed inside. The door closed, plunging them into darkness before dim, yellow lights flickered on. A creepy voice echoed from a speaker, welcoming them to a tomb and wishing them good luck in escaping within 30 minutes. Claire grabbed Evan's hand, her eyes wide with fear. "I'll lead the way," Evan announced. "You all follow me. Kevin, you bring up the rear." "Kevin," Evan called again. "Kevin." "Huh?" Kevin's voice was shaky. "I'm leading, you're in the back." "Got it." "G got it." They moved through a long passage into the first room, which was set up like an ancestral hall, filled with memorial tablets and draped in white silk. Claire immediately shut her eyes and buried her face in Evan's side, refusing to look. The other girls were just as spooked. Only Evan seemed unfazed. After navigating several more themed rooms, they entered the final, largest chamber. It was filled with more than a dozen coffins, bathed in an ominous red light. All four girls had their eyes squeezed shut. Evan was casually surveying the room when he noticed Kevin, frozen at the back, had gone completely rigid. Just as Kevin was about to ask why they had stopped, a coffin to his right began to tremble. The lid slid open, and an actor in a Qing Dynasty official's uniform, a Chinese zombie, sat bolt upright. Kevin's eyes met the zombie's for 3 silent, horrifying seconds. Then, he let out a piercing shriek. "Mommy!" He lunged forward and threw his arms around the person directly in front of him, Sophia. Evan couldn't believe what he was seeing. According to his master plan, Sophia was supposed to get scared and seek comfort from Kevin. Instead, before Sophia even had a chance to be afraid, Kevin had launched himself at her, screaming for his mother. What was he trying to do, find a girlfriend or a new mom? The girls, who had their eyes shut, weren't scared by the zombie actor but were startled by Kevin's blood-curdling shriek. Someone pushed Evan from behind, and he had no choice but to stumble forward through the rest of the maze. Outside, back in the sunlight, the group was still shaken. Only Evan had witnessed Kevin's panicked embrace of Sophia. Kevin's face was the color of a tomato. Sophia was quiet, her cheeks faintly pink. She'd never had such close contact with a boy before, and her heart was still racing. Evan, seeing Kevin's mortified expression, quickly changed the subject to save him from apologizing and making things even more awkward. "You guys are useless," he teased. "That wasn't even that scary." "We didn't scream," Jessica retorted. "Besides, this wasn't our idea." The comment only made Kevin feel worse. Evan took Claire's hand and led the group away, pulling Kevin aside under the pretense of buying water. "What do I do?" Kevin moaned. "It's over for me, isn't it?" "Listen to me," Evan said sternly. "Whatever you do, do not apologize to her in front of the others. If you have to, do it over text after they've gone home." He patted his friend's shoulder. "Look, it might not be a bad thing." "What? Think about it," Evan explained. "She didn't say anything when you came out. She just blushed a little. That means she wasn't angry. It means, at the very least, she doesn't hate you. If a girl is hugged by someone she dislikes, that is not the reaction she would have." Kevin's spirits lifted slightly. They rejoined the girls, and Kevin, mimicking Evan, made sure to twist the cap off Sophia's water bottle before handing it to her. Later, as they arrived at the subway station, Evan pulled Claire aside for a private goodbye. He zipped up her jacket, reminding her to stay warm. Just as his train was pulling in, she called his name. She stepped forward, pulled the black hair tie from her ponytail, and slipped it onto his wrist. What's this for? He asked with a smile. Don't you dare take it off, she commanded. Before she could react, he leaned in, gave her a quick, gentle kiss on the forehead, and dashed onto the train, waving at her through the window, as her face turned a deep shade of crimson. On the subway ride back, Victoria broke the silence. Kevin, she said with a sly grin. Do you have a crush on our Sophia? Kevin's face instantly turned beet red. He was completely flustered, unable to form a coherent response. Sophia shot Victoria a look. Victoria, what are you talking about? Oh, I'm just kidding, Victoria said, laughing it off. But she knew. She'd caught him sneaking glances at Sophia all through lunch. When they reached their stop, Kevin managed a small wave and a quiet see you again. As soon as the girls were out of sight, he frantically messaged Evan. Bro, help. Victoria figured it out. She asked me right in front of Sophia. Evan's reply was calm. It's fine that she knows. What was Sophia's reaction? She told Victoria not to talk nonsense. Did she blush? I think so. Then you're fine. Evan texted back. Stay calm. Message her around 8 tonight. This first conversation is crucial. That evening, Evan called a meeting. With Christmas Eve just around the corner, he saw a major business opportunity. He gathered everyone in the office, his roommates, Victoria, the new hires, and even Thomas and Evelyn from the fruit shop. All right, everyone, he began. After the temperature dropped, our fruit shop sales have been declining. But Christmas Eve is our chance. He laid out his plan. The theme was an apple for my eye. They would sell beautifully packaged peace apples, a play on words, as apple in Mandarin sounds similar to peace. But we're going to add a twist, he continued. We'll include small, rolled-up scrolls with romantic quotes inside each box. Imagine a guy gives one to his girlfriend. She opens it and finds a note that says, I want to walk through every beautiful moment of life with you. How would she feel? A collective whoa went through the room. And that's not all, Evan said, a glint in his eye. We'll also randomly place red string bracelets in some of the boxes, like a blind box lottery. The apple itself becomes secondary. People will buy multiple boxes just to try and get a bracelet for their girlfriend. He then assigned tasks to everyone, from sourcing the boxes and bracelets to writing the quotes and coordinating with the campus reps to stock the vending machines. As he spoke, the room was silent. They were all looking at him with a new sense of awe. At 8 o'clock that night, Kevin lay in his bunk, curtains drawn, staring at his phone. He finally worked up the courage to send the first message to Sophia. I'm sorry about today. He immediately turned his phone screen down, terrified to see her reply. After a few agonizing minutes, he peeked. It's okay, he read, a wave of relief washing over him. He typed back, I really didn't mean to. But then his mind went blank. Unsure what to say next, he typed out the most generic question he could think of. Have you eaten dinner? Sophia's reply was tinged with confusion. It's 8 o'clock. Who hasn't eaten dinner by now? Mortified, Kevin took a screenshot and sent it to his coach. Bro, what do I say now? Evan, fresh out of the shower, replied instantly. Ask about her age, hobbies, stuff like that. Keep it light. If she gives you one-word answers, you're done. If she engages, you have a chance. Kevin followed the script, but his clumsy attempts at conversation were disastrous. When he said she looked young, she asked if he was calling her childish. When he said he meant she looked younger than her age, she asked if he thought she was actually old. Panicked, he sent another screenshot to Evan. Dad, help. How do I fix this? Evan's instruction was simple. Just say, I just think you're very cute. Kevin hesitated, thinking it was too forward, but he trusted his mentor. He typed the words and hit send. In her room, Sophia read the message, and her heart skipped a beat. Her face felt hot. She quickly put on a hydrating face mask, unsure how to respond. The long pause sent Kevin into another spiral. He messaged Evan again. She's not replying. She's probably just shy. Evan replied. Change the subject. When Kevin switched to a different topic, her replies became quick again. Seeing that his pupil was back on track, Evan decided to video call his own girlfriend. Claire was just getting into bed. You're too close to the phone, she giggled. I can see up your nose. Impossible, he shot back. I just picked it. He had her put on headphones and then asked her to spy on Sophia, who was in the bunk below, back turned to her, a face mask on. He then messaged Kevin one last piece of advice. She usually goes to bed at 9:30. Don't drag it out. And remember to say goodnight. Kevin saw the message. He had his mission. The accidental voice note was a disaster. Kevin felt like his social life was over. He called Evan in a panic. I'm finished. Evan, however, was surprisingly calm. Did you retract the message? Yes, but she must have heard it. She definitely heard it. Evan agreed. If she hadn't, she would have asked what you retracted. Look, this isn't a big deal. For a guy like you, being direct is better anyway. So what do I do now? Go to sleep, Evan said. Act like nothing happened. Message her again tomorrow. The next morning, a mortified Kevin sent a simple morning. Sophia didn't reply until noon, saying she'd been in class. His hope was rekindled. For the next few days, their chats continued, though Sophia's response times were erratic, leaving Kevin in a constant state of anxiety. On Friday, he finally mustered the courage to ask her out for the weekend. She replied after a long pause, first saying she was busy, then saying she wasn't ready, and finally suggesting he could come along if Evan was also visiting Claire. Confused, Kevin once again consulted his guru. She feels like things are moving too fast, Evan explained. She wants to slow it down a bit. Meanwhile, Evan's own week was packed. The Christmas Eve project was in full swing, and on Thursday afternoon, he got an unexpected visit at the office. It was Director Wong from the university's Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center. He was impressed with their progress and handed Evan an invitation. It's the Shanghai New Youth Venture Capital Conference, he explained. Our university has one spot. You should go, see what you can learn. We'll definitely be there, Evan said immediately. After the director left, Victoria asked if they were really going. I'll go by myself, Evan said. These official events are usually just for show. The winners are all pre-decided. But, he added, holding up the invitation with a smile, you never know who you might meet. It's a good chance to network. The Venture Capital Conference was held at the Shanghai Innovation Park. The venue was crowded, the parking lot filled with luxury cars. Evan walked in and was immediately out of place. He tried to mingle, but the older entrepreneurs and investors dismissed the young-looking college student. Annoyed, he found a seat in the back row, planning to leave as soon as the opening speeches were over. Just as the event was about to start, a large man tapped him on the shoulder. Hey man, is this seat taken? Evan looked up and was momentarily stunned. No, it's free. The man was PDD, a famous professional League of Legends player who had recently retired to become a streamer. You know me? PDD asked, surprised. I play a little League, Evan said. He was curious what a gamer was doing at an investment conference. I'm here for my dad, PDD explained with a shrug. Just showing my face, then I'm out. They chatted for a bit, but after a few minutes of boring speeches, PDD got up to leave. Evan decided to follow his lead. As they walked out, a young man ran up to the gamer. PDD, he called out, trying to keep pace. Our game has over 100,000 downloads in its first month. If you just try it, I know you'll see the potential. Bro, I don't know anything about investing, PDD said, brushing him off. You have to talk to my dad. But you know games. This is different from anything on the market. PDD flagged down a taxi and slid in, leaving the young man standing on the curb, looking utterly dejected. Evan walked over. Hi, what game were you talking about? The man sighed. Honkai Gakuen 2. Evan's eyes widened. Honkai Gakuen, he repeated, trying to hide his shock. He knew this game. More importantly, he knew the company that made it. He quickly pulled out a business card. My name is Evan Su. And you are? The man, surprised, exchanged cards with him. Kai, how you? They both looked down at the cards in their hands. Kai was surprised to see that this young kid was the CEO of a company. But Evan was staring at 3 words printed on Kai's card. Miho yo. Can we talk somewhere? Evan asked, his voice steady despite his racing heart. I'm very interested in your game. They went to a Starbucks across the street. Kai explained that while their download numbers were good, most of the profits were eaten up by distribution channels. They needed $5 million in funding for their next project. How much equity are you offering? Evan asked. 8%. I want 10%, Evan countered. But I won't interfere in your company's management. If you lose, I take the loss. If you make money, I just want my dividends. Kai, a straightforward engineer, was taken aback. I need to discuss this with my partners, he said. But I will call you. Then he asked, have you played our game before? I haven't had the time to play it properly, Evan admitted truthfully. But I understand what you're doing. You're creating a whole new lane in the gaming industry. If you stick to your vision, you're going to be huge. As he spoke, Kai looked at him with a growing sense of wonder, as if he'd finally found someone who understood. And Evan struggled to contain the wild, ecstatic beating of his own heart. Kai Haoyu, the co-founder and CEO of MiHoYo. In 2022, he would be on the list of China's top 100 richest people. But right now, in 2014, he was just the founder of a little-known game studio. A studio that was about to release a game called Honkai Impact 3rd, which would launch them into the stratosphere. An unbelievable stroke of fortune had just landed in Evan's lap. He managed to suppress his manic excitement and talked with Kai for another half hour before they parted ways. The moment Kai's taxi disappeared, Evan almost jumped for joy. But then reality hit. If they accepted his offer, where was he going to get $5 million? He couldn't sell the family home. His mother would murder him. He couldn't borrow it. Even Leo, his richest friend, didn't have access to that kind of cash. It was absurd. He had a 7-figure sum in his stock account, and yet he was completely broke. That night, his parents video called. Son, have you eaten? His mom asked. Yeah, I've eaten. She smiled. When does your winter break start? Evan pushed the money problem to the back of his mind. Mid-February, I think. So probably early February. Good. Come home as soon as it starts. Then she asked, is the allowance your dad gives you enough? 1,500 is plenty, he said. His mom's face darkened. 1,500? Your dad only sent you 1,500. The camera suddenly dropped, and Evan could hear his mother's furious voice off screen, followed by his father's yelps of pain. Daniel Su, you scoundrel. I told you to send him $1,700 a month. You skimmed $200 off the top. Didn't you hear him say $1,500 was enough? Where's the money? Well, my colleague, Old Wu, treated me to a foot massage last month, so I treated him back this time. A foot massage, huh? Go to the kitchen and get me the steel wool ball. I'll give you a foot massage. You can't use a steel wool ball to wash feet. Don't talk back to me. Aya, it hurts. It hurts. Evan listened for another moment, then quietly ended the call. He sighed, the $5 million problem weighing on him again. Back in his dorm, he took a shower. Leo told him Claire had called. He texted her back, saying he'd call in 20 minutes after he did his laundry. Remembering her comment about smelling soap on his shirt, he used a generous amount of liquid detergent this time. Clean and smelling fresh, he climbed into his bunk and called her. Exactly 20 minutes, she said. You almost missed your window. And what would have happened if I was late? Then I would have waited 20 minutes to answer your call, she replied sweetly. He told her he would visit her on Sunday instead of Saturday because of work. He could sense her disappointment. To lighten the mood, he said, I have a riddle for you. Why did the singer get locked out of her house? Claire thought for a moment. I don't know. He heard her ask her roommates, who were also stumped. What's the answer? She asked. Because she couldn't find the right key, Evan said. She was silent for 2 seconds, then burst out laughing. About 3 minutes later, a message from Kevin popped up on Evan's screen. Bro, I have a riddle for you. Why did the singer get locked out of her house? Saturday was a whirlwind of activity. The team was busy packing the peace apples for the Christmas Eve promotion. As Evan supervised, his phone rang. It was Kai. How you? Evan, Kai said, his voice serious. Our team discussed it all night. We have a decision. Evan's heart hammered in his chest. And, we'll accept your investment for 10% equity. But how soon can the funds be transferred? When do you need them? As soon as possible. Evan took a deep breath and bluffed. Send me your company's account information. I'll transfer the money after we sign the contract, by next Wednesday at the latest. After hanging up, the weight of his promise crashed down on him. He had no choice but to sound confident, but now he had to deliver. He immediately sent a message to Harrison Chen. Mr. Chen, are you busy? I'd like to ask you a question about business loans. Harrison, surprised, called him right away. Evan explained that he needed $5 million for an investment. $5 million. Harrison was shocked. That's not a small amount. Even if you could get a loan, have you considered the consequences if the investment fails? When Evan mentioned he was even considering private lenders, Harrison became alarmed. Don't you dare touch high-interest loans. Let me make some calls. Wait for me to get back to you. Harrison immediately drove to Melinda's villa. He told her about Evan's plan, expecting her to be as worried as he was. But Melinda's reaction was different. She was intrigued. She called Evan herself. Auntie, he answered. What kind of investment requires $5 million? A gaming company. And what if you lose it all? Even if I lose, with my company's current profits, I can pay it back, Evan said confidently. But if I win, the return could be unimaginable. There was a long pause. Then Melinda said, I have some money I can lend you. Evan was stunned. Harrison, who was listening in, jumped to his feet. Melinda, are you crazy? She ignored him. But I have conditions, she continued, her voice cool and steady. First, this is a loan. You have 2 years to pay me back in monthly installments, plus interest. Second, Claire gets 10% of your new investment company. Evan didn't hesitate. No problem. I can accept those terms. I've even thought of a name for the company. Qingya Investments. You haven't asked what happens if you can't pay me back, she said, a smile in her voice. Evan played along. What happens? I'll require you to marry into our family. Evan was momentarily speechless. If he couldn't pay back the money, he'd have to marry into their family? But from his perspective, this was a risk-free bet. He knew the investment was a sure thing. Okay, he said, his voice firm. I agree to all of it. Melinda was surprised by his swift acceptance. You'll need to come to Jiangzhou to sign the papers, she said. And don't let Claire know about this. After hanging up, Harrison was apoplectic. Are you out of your mind? Melinda calmly sipped her water. It's a test, she explained. If he pays it back, I'll know I can entrust Claire to him. If he can't, the $5 million will serve as a dowry. He'll marry Claire, and I'll manage his career. Either way, it's an acceptable outcome for me. Harrison sank onto the sofa, defeated. He'd never seen her so cunningly maternal. Evan immediately booked a high-speed train ticket for that evening. Since the station was near Claire's university, he decided to make a stop. He called her from downstairs, and she came running down, a mix of surprise and delight on her face. She came running down, a mix of surprise and delight on her face. You lied to me. You said you were coming tomorrow. Something came up last minute, he said, tweaking the truth. I have to go back to Jiangzhou for a bit. I'll be back on Monday. Seeing the worry on her face, he quickly added, It's nothing serious. I just wanted to tell you in person. She grabbed his wrist. Let's go. You need to eat before you travel for hours. He let her lead him to a restaurant. She ordered a deluxe meal set for him, and though he wasn't hungry, he ate every bite just to make her happy. She sat opposite him, her chin resting in her hands, watching him with a constant, gentle smile. Afterwards, they walked back through campus, ending up on their usual bench under a large tree. As soon as they sat, their hands found each other, a comfortable, practiced gesture. He told her about his week, about the new snack shop and the weirdo the dorm manager caught stealing underwear. She listened, and then checked the time on her phone. Shouldn't you be going? Just a little longer, he said. Your lips are chapped, she noted. It's getting dry this winter. I have lip balm in my room. I'll go get it for you. As she started to stand, he gently pulled her back down. No need, he said softly, a mischievous glint in his eye. I'll just borrow some of yours. He leaned in. She froze, her wide, shimmering eyes looking up at him. Just as she blinked, he closed the distance and pressed his lips to hers. It was a brief, gentle kiss. He pulled back, and with a roguish grin, licked his own lips. Strawberry flavored, he declared. Claire's face was on fire. When she finally recovered, she pushed him away. I have to go back to my dorm. Text me when you get to Jiangzhou. She turned and practically ran away. Evan just smiled and headed for the station. The high-speed train was quiet. He arrived in Jiangzhou a little after 11 at night. A message from Melinda was waiting. She insisted on picking him up. He spotted her car as soon as he exited the station. Does Claire know you're back? She asked as he buckled his seatbelt. She knows I'm back in town, but not why. Melinda nodded. This investment. You're not an impulsive person. You've thought this through, correct? Of course, he said. I wouldn't be borrowing this much money if I wasn't sure. She smiled. 5 million is a lot of money to me, too. We'll need to sign a contract. Then her tone shifted slightly, becoming playful but with a sharp edge. If you succeed and get rich, you won't get tired of my Claire, will you? It was a test. Of course not, he said, matching her light tone. If you don't believe me, maybe you could convince Claire to marry me as soon as we graduate? She laughed out loud. You wish. I won't let her marry you until your career is stable. And if you fail, you'll be marrying into our family, remember? They arrived at his apartment complex. Evan waved goodbye and headed home. Later that night, his father, Daniel, crept out of the bedroom for a drink of water. After filling his thermos with hot water and a handful of goji berries, he tiptoed to the living room sofa. He lifted a cushion and pulled out a wad of crumpled bills, his secret stash, skimmed from grocery money. He was carefully smoothing out the bills and counting them when a sudden, sharp knock echoed from the front door. At the same time, his mother, Hannah, emerged from the bedroom. Daniel, what are you doing on the sofa in the middle of the night? She asked, rubbing her eyes. He quickly shoved the cash between his legs. As Hannah opened the door, Evan stood there, smiling. Evan, what are you doing here? Did you get into trouble at school? Evan rolled his eyes and explained he had a long weekend. Hannah, delighted, went to the kitchen to make him some dumplings. As Daniel stood up to help, Evan pointed to the floor. Dad, you dropped $20. Hannah poked her head out of the kitchen. Your dad doesn't have any money. I confiscated it all. She trailed off as she saw the bill on the floor. Her eyes narrowed. Daniel. A chase ensued, his father hopping around the living room while his mother brandished a spatula. You little traitor, Daniel yelled at Evan. I swear, in the next life, I'm the son and you're the dad. After a thorough interrogation, Daniel surrendered his entire stash of cash to Hannah and sulked on the sofa. Evan sat next to him. Dad, I didn't do it on purpose. Get away from me, his dad grumbled. It's just $100 or so, Evan said, pulling out his phone. I'll transfer it to you now. I don't need it, Daniel said stubbornly. Evan decided to come clean, partially. Dad, to be honest, a classmate and I opened a fruit shop at school. We make about $10,000 a month. Daniel's jaw dropped. He made less than that at his stable, full-time job. Evan showed him the transaction history on his phone, a long list of small payments that proved his story. You little brat, his father said, a mix of shock and pride in his voice. You're already earning more than your old man. Should we tell Mom? Evan asked. Not yet, Daniel said. She looks forward to calling you every month to ask if you have enough money. If you don't even need our allowance, she'll have nothing to fuss over. He then shoved his phone at Evan. Quick, transfer me some money before she finds a new hiding spot. Not to my main account. She checks that. Send it to my Alipay. Evan transferred 2,000 yuan. Spend it wisely, he said, unable to resist the irony. After a hot shower, Evan got into bed and texted Claire. I'm home. You're probably asleep already, right? She replied instantly. Not yet. I was waiting for you. You shouldn't have. It's so late. Couldn't sleep. He offered to sing her a lullaby, and she immediately put on her headphones. He hummed a few bars before she cut him off. He then remembered his other obligation. I have to text your mom, too. She picked me up from the station. He explained that she had called him, and that's how she knew he was coming home. The next morning, Evan went to Melinda's house. The contract is on the table, she said as she let him in. The bank card has 5 million in it. The pin is Claire's birthday. I assume you know it. Of course, Evan smiled. I was there for her birthday cake, remember? Just as he picked up the pen, the doorbell rang. It was Harrison Shun. He rushed in, looking frantic. Evan, you need to think this through. Most people don't earn 5 million in their entire lifetime. Evan simply looked up from the contract, a wide, confident smile spreading across his face. Mr. Chun, you're too late. My mother-in-law and I have already signed the deal. Harrison pointed a trembling finger at Evan. Melinda, did you hear what he just called you? Mother-in-law, she replied coolly. Are you deaf? Evan had said it deliberately to signal to Harrison that Melinda was on his side, but he was surprised at how readily she played along. Harrison suddenly felt like an outsider in his own family. Evan, Melinda said, turning her attention back to him. Why don't you join me for lunch? Should we eat out? Evan asked, then quickly had a better idea. Or, how about I cook? Melinda raised an eyebrow, intrigued. You cook? Don't underestimate me, he said with a grin. I can handle a few dishes. The fastest way to a woman's heart is through her mother's stomach. Evan wasn't a gourmet chef, but years of fending for himself had made him a competent cook. As he expertly chopped vegetables in her kitchen, Melinda watched from the dining table, a pleased smile playing on her lips. Harrison, meanwhile, felt like his home was being stolen right out from under him. Who did he learn to be so shameless from? Melinda asked, already knowing the answer. Harrison gestured towards the kitchen. From that little scoundrel in there. Evan cooked a 4-course meal, spicy boiled pork, sweet and sour ribs, chili fried eggs, and a simple potato and carrot stir-fry. Melinda was impressed. Where did you learn to cook like this? Oh, just picked it up here and there, he said modestly. Even Harrison, who had resolved to find fault with every dish, had to admit it was good, though he grumbled. It's passable. Later, as Harrison drove him home, Evan looked at the bank card in his hand. It felt impossibly heavy. Mr. Chun, he said, I have an idea. Let's make a bet. A bet on what? Give me 3 years, Evan said, his voice brimming with confidence. I'll turn this 5 million into 50 million. If I succeed, you have to do one thing for me, no questions asked. If I fail, you can ask me to do anything you want. Harrison scoffed. It's good for a young man to have dreams, but don't get carried away. So is it a bet? Evan pressed. Fine, Harrison said, a hint of grudging respect in his voice. It's a bet. I'm not afraid of you. Evan booked his return ticket to Shanghai for the next afternoon. His parents insisted on making him a farewell feast, and his father drove him to the station. The ride was filled with his dad's usual advice and complaints. Your mother's definitely going through menopause, he grumbled. And that girlfriend of yours, has she dumped you yet? You have to be honest when you're dating, son. Dad? Evan interrupted. If dating were a class, I could probably be your professor. So maybe you should stop worrying. He then dropped a bag of radish cakes, a Jiangzhou specialty, into his dad's lap. Take these home. His father thought they were for Evan's roommates and didn't ask any questions. At the station, Evan got out of the car. He remembered something from his past life. A time when he was in middle school, and his dad caught him smoking with friends. His father, usually mild-mannered, had been furious, dragging him home by the ear. That night at dinner, Evan had stubbornly eaten only plain rice, refusing to touch any of the other dishes. Later, hiding in his room, he overheard his father yelling at his mother. Why didn't you put food on his plate? Why didn't you give him any food? He hadn't touched a cigarette since. The 5-hour train ride back to Shanghai felt long. It was already 7 by the time he got off the train. Instead of heading back to his own dorm, he went straight to the music conservatory. He called Claire from downstairs. She was surprised to see him. This is a radish cake from my hometown, he said, handing her the bag. I bought it fresh, but it's cold now. It's still good, though. You can share it with your roommates. You look tired, she said, her voice soft with concern. He smiled, pushing down his exhaustion. Just a little. I slept on the train. He knew Thursday was Christmas Eve. Do you want me to come over on Thursday? He asked. To his surprise, she shook her head. No. Why not? It's too far, she said. It's so tiring to travel all that way. If you come on Thursday, you just have to turn around and go back early Friday morning. He grinned. So you're worried about me? I am not, she said, turning away with a huff. He opened his arms. Give me a hug, and then I'll go. She hesitated for a moment, then stepped into his embrace. As he walked away, he turned back and saw her still standing there, watching him. Go on up, he called out. It's cold out here. While Evan was away, his rival, Luo Wenbing of Kanyuan Fruit, was also preparing for Christmas Eve. He was using the same old strategy. Cheap apples in cheap boxes for 5 yuan each. When he saw the banner outside Evan's shop advertising peace apple gift boxes for 15 yuan, he scoffed. Who would be foolish enough to buy a single apple for that price? He was so confident that he didn't even see Evan as competition. Evan, meanwhile, had a much bigger fish to fry. He skipped his afternoon political theory class and took a taxi to the MiHoYo studio. The office was a small, cramped space, but buzzing with the energy of young developers focused on their screens. Kai Haoyu greeted him warmly. The contract was ready. Evan had already had Evelyn, who was a law student, review the electronic version. After a quick look, he signed his name. The money should be in your account by 5 this afternoon, he said. The deal was done. Smoothly, professionally. After a tour of the small office, Evan left. Just as he was walking out of the building, his phone buzzed. It was a confirmation message from his bank. The transfer was complete. Back at his own campus, Evan saw Luo Wanbing shouting into a megaphone, hawking his 5 yuan apples. He just smiled. Luo Wanbing shouting into a megaphone, hawking his 5 yuan apples. His own gift boxes weren't just about the apple, they were about the experience. The box was high-end, the apple was a premium variety, and inside, there was a romantic quote on a small scroll and a chance to win a red string bracelet. It was a gift, not just a piece of fruit. He opened his customer group chat and posted an announcement about the limited edition gift boxes, adding a picture of the elegant packaging. He deliberately kept the surprise gift vague, creating a sense of mystery. The hunger marketing worked. The group chat immediately lit up with inquiries. He then called Kevin. Kev, it's Christmas Eve tomorrow. Want to bring an apple to Sophia? Of course I do, Kevin said. Great, Evan replied. Come to my school. I have gift boxes ready. I'll even prepare one for you to give to Claire. That way you have a legitimate reason to go see them. Kevin complained about the distance. I'll just grab one from the vending machine at my school. But I want to handwrite the notes inside, Evan said, his voice taking on a wounded tone. For a personal touch. Kevin, aren't you willing to make even this small effort for Sophia? There was a pause. Are you trying to manipulate me? Kevin asked. Evan said nothing. Fine, Kevin sighed. I'll be there tomorrow afternoon. Pick me up from the subway. Evan carefully folded the note he'd written for Claire's gift box. It read, the feeling of meeting you is like finally coming home after a long, long journey. He signed it, from the Evan you love the most. Christmas Eve was the make-or-break day for his promotion. With vending machines in 7 campuses across 5 universities, his potential customer base was over 100,000 students. If he could create a viral trend, he stood to make a 6-figure sum in a single day. At his own shop, the gift boxes started flying off the shelves as soon as evening fell. Students who bought one and discovered the secret message inside immediately regretted opening it before giving it away. The boxes were sealed, and once opened, they couldn't be resealed. It was the perfect vehicle for a shy confession. The word spread like wildfire. Soon, a steady stream of students was bypassing Luo Wanbing's store and heading straight for Evan's. Luo was baffled. Why would anyone pay 15 yuan when he was selling the same thing for 5? Frustrated, he gave a student 20 yuan and asked him to buy one of Evan's boxes. When the student returned, Luo tore it open. The apple was a higher quality, he noted. Then he found the scroll. Whether it was lust at first sight or love at first sight, I knew from the first moment I saw you. Luo, a middle-aged married man, felt nothing, but he understood everything. He immediately tried to copy Evan's idea, but it was too late. The premium apples had sold out, and there was no time to order custom boxes or print thousands of unique messages. The next morning, Evan dragged his roommates out of bed early. They weren't going to work. They were going to deliver gift-wrapped apples to all their professors. A little gift goes a long way, Evan explained. It makes a good impression, and a good impression means better grades. Frankie, who had been grumbling about being woken up, suddenly sat bolt upright. I don't want to fail any classes. I'm in. They even dropped off a large batch with their counselor, who winked and said, don't worry. I understand. In the cafeteria, Frankie looked around. Wow, there are so many pretty girls out today. They're all dressing up for their dates tonight, Leo said. Evan took a bite of his bun and grinned. Good thing there aren't too many guys like Frankie at this school. Hey, what's that supposed to mean? He means, Leo explained patiently, that if everyone was like you, single and clueless, we wouldn't sell any of our romantic apple gift boxes. The morning classes dragged on. The moment the bell rang for lunch, Evan and Leo headed straight for the office to check the vending machine sales data. The system was flooded with low stock alerts. They're selling like crazy, Victoria said, already on the phone with the office staff. The numbers were staggering. By the time their supplier arrived with 100 more crates of apples, they had already sold over 3,500 boxes. The sales figure had broken 50,000 yuan and was still climbing at an incredible rate. Evan had to post a message in his class group chat, offering to pay students to help them pack more boxes. Soon, the office was an assembly line of students, frantically packing apples and scrolls into gift boxes. Amid the chaos, Kevin arrived. Evan handed him 4 boxes. The one with the smiley face is for Claire. These 2 are for her roommates. This one, he said, pointing to the last box, is for you to give to Sophia. It's unsealed. I'll leave it up to you whether you want to add your own note. Kevin, predictably, had no idea what to write. Bro, help me out. What did you write for Claire? After Evan told him, Kevin begged. Think of something for me too. Are you sure? Evan asked. I'm not going to hold back. You have to use whatever I come up with. He dictated a message. I'm not a very good talker, and I'm not very good at romance. But after meeting you, I realized it's not that I'm incapable. It's just that I hadn't met the right person until now. Kevin painstakingly wrote it down. Isn't that a bit too direct? Direct? Evan scoffed. I held hands with Claire on our 3rd meeting. Trusting his mentor's expertise, Kevin carefully folded the note and sealed the box. He then set off for the music conservatory. He stood beneath the girls' dormitory, his heart pounding, and sent a message to Sophia. I'm downstairs. Can you come down for a minute? A few minutes later, all 4 girls came down together. Kevin handed out the boxes as instructed. When he gave Sophia hers, he said, "This one is for me." Victoria, ever the instigator, immediately said, "Sophia, let's trade." "No," Kevin blurted out, far too quickly. His cover was blown. Victoria just laughed and dragged Jessica upstairs. Claire, realizing she was in the way, followed them, leaving Kevin and Sophia alone. "Well," he stammered, "I should get going. Evan's really busy tonight with the promotion." "Oh," she said. "Will you wait for me tonight?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Yes," she replied. He turned and practically ran away, his heart soaring. Sophia looked down at the gift box in her hand, then at his retreating back, and a small, curious smile touched her lips. "So this is what it feels like to have someone waiting for you downstairs." Back in the dorm, Jessica examined her gift box. "It was nice of Evan to have Kevin bring these over for us." Victoria, already tearing hers open, laughed. "You're so naive. The apples for us were just an excuse. He came for Sophia." Meanwhile, Claire opened her own box. Before she could react, Victoria snatched the note from inside. "I knew yours would be better," she crowed, reading it aloud. "The feeling of meeting you is like finally coming home after a long, long journey. From the Evan who loves you the most. Claire, blushing furiously, snatched the note back and tucked it safely inside a book. Just then, Sophia returned, a faint blush still on her cheeks. Well, Victoria said, a wicked grin on her face. "Open your box. Maybe there's a surprise inside for you, too." Sophia hesitated, then opened the box and saw the note. Her heart started racing again. She quickly pocketed the note and retreated to the bathroom to read it in private. It was a confession, plain and simple, and it left her completely flustered. When she finally emerged, Victoria, playing the role of the worldly wise older sister, began offering relationship advice. "Don't be in a rush," she counseled. "You've only met him twice. You need to get to know him first." "What if he asks me out?" Jessica chimed in. "Tell him you need more time to get to know him," Victoria instructed. "But don't say you're a slow-to-warm-up kind of person. To a guy, that just means you're not hot or rich enough for me to be interested, but I'll keep you around as a backup. Just be honest." Then she added, "Remember, men are all the same. Before you're together, it's all honey and sweetheart. After, it's I'm busy and I'm tired. Don't fall for the sweet talk." She looked pointedly at Sophia, who immediately deflected. "You should be telling this to Claire." Sophia, who immediately deflected. "You should be telling this to Claire." "Claire's a lost cause," Victoria sighed. "Evan has her completely wrapped around his little finger." Just as Claire was about to protest, her phone rang. It was Evan. She immediately got up and went outside to take the call, a huge smile on her face. Victoria just shook her head. "See? Hopeless." Evan heard a click, and the line went dead. He messaged her, "Why did you hang up?" "Because of what you called me," she typed back. "Everyone calls their girlfriend babe." Victoria was right. You boys are all the same. Frustrated, Evan sent a voice message. "Don't listen to Victoria. She's single. What does she know about love?" Claire accidentally played the message on speaker. The whole room heard it. "That jerk," Victoria fumed. "He's talking trash about me behind my back. I'm going to call him and give him a piece of my mind." "He's really busy right now," Claire said meekly. "Maybe you could yell at him next time you see him." Victoria's anger deflated. "You always take his side. You're completely hopeless." In the office, things were anything but hopeless. Victoria refreshed the sales page. "We broke 10,000 units. The room erupted. 10,000 units at 15 yuan each. That's 150,000 in revenue," Leo shouted. "And it's only 6:30. By 11 that night, the final tally was in. The vending machines alone had brought in just under 250,000 yuan. "The net profit should be over 100,000, Evan announced. "Everyone worked hard. We'll have a celebratory dinner on Friday, with bonuses for everyone." After sending the girls home on their electric scooters, Evan, Leo, and Frankie had to sprint back to their dorm before the gates closed. "When are you finally going to buy a car?" Frankie panted as they ran. "Work hard," Evan shouted back, "and I'll get one by the end of the year. Maybe I'll even get you a sister-in-law next year." Back in his room, after a quick shower, Evan replied to a flood of messages. His cousin, Claire, Kevin, and even Melinda had all messaged him. He was texting with Kevin when Kevin sent him a hypothetical question. "If you had 30 million and your best friend needed 29.95 million for life-saving surgery, what would you do?" Evan typed back instantly. "What would I do? Throw him the most lavish, kick-ass funeral ever. Our friendship is really that fragile." Kevin replied, "Gotta go, calling my girlfriend," Evan typed, ending the conversation. He then dialed Claire's number. Kevin took a deep breath and sent the message, "I'm done with work. Are you asleep yet?" Sophia replied almost immediately, "Not yet." Kevin then asked if she had eaten the apple and, more importantly, if she had seen the note. The wait for her reply was agonizing. Finally, it came. "I saw it." Then another message followed. "But I'm not ready yet. We've only just met." Kevin immediately screenshotted the conversation and sent it to Evan for an emergency consultation. While on the phone with Claire, Evan multitask coached his friend. Just tell her this, Evan instructed. My feelings for you aren't about being with you right now. It's about hoping that if you ever face a tough time, you won't lose heart, because you'll know that at least once, someone was captivated by your charm. And they always will be. Kevin typed it out verbatim. Sophia's reply was unexpected. Who said that? Panicked, Kevin immediately confessed. Evan said it. But it's what I wanted to express. You're wrong, she typed back. Haruki Murakami said it. Kevin felt his world crumble. He could only manage to type back a series of apologies before she said she was tired and wished him good night. Kevin immediately unloaded on Evan. Why didn't you tell me it was a famous quote? I look like a complete idiot. Evan was unconcerned. It's fine. She's probably in her bunk, laughing right now. He was right. Sophia was giggling as she changed Kevin's contact name in her phone from Kevin Sheen to Silly Sheen. The next day was Christmas. The frenzy had died down, and Evan had Victoria calculate the final profit from the promotion. On Friday evening, Evan hosted a celebratory dinner for the entire team. Evan handed out red envelopes filled with cash bonuses, the amounts varying based on each person's contribution. As the party got into full swing, Evan quietly sent 2 digital red envelopes to Claire, one for 520 yuan and another for 1314, numbers that sound like, I love you, and forever in Chinese. Why the sudden gift, she texted back. Because your man is rich now, Evan replied. Chapter 169. After Christmas came New Year's. On the afternoon of the 31st, Evan packed a bag and headed to the music conservatory to meet Claire for their New Year's Eve date. He met up with Kevin at a nearby mall first. Kevin was dressed to the nines, even wearing a light cologne. Someone's trying hard, Evan teased. Evan led him to a Tizot watch store. I'm looking for a matching set for a couple, he told the saleswoman. Budget is around 10,000. He quickly settled on a pair of classic, white-faced watches and paid the 12,000 yuan price tag without blinking. Kevin watched in awe. This was a different Evan from the one he grew up with. How much money have you actually made since starting college? He asked weakly. Let's just say I'm carrying a lot of debt right now, Evan said evasively. He then transferred 5,000 yuan to Kevin. Use this to buy a gift for Sophia. But don't go overboard. You two just met. A really expensive gift might make her uncomfortable. He suggested a Polaroid camera. Girls love taking pictures, he explained. Every time she uses it, she'll think of you. Kevin's eyes lit up. After buying the camera, they met the girls downstairs. Claire was wearing a beautiful light blue wool coat over a white dress, her long hair flowing freely. You look beautiful today, Evan said, walking up to her. As usual, she blushed. Victoria rolled her eyes. Can't you think of a new line? You're not as pretty as my Claire. Evan shot back, sparking a playful argument that Claire had to break up by covering his mouth. They took a bus to Happy Valley Amusement Park, where they planned to ring in the new year. The park was packed with people, mostly college students and couples. As they navigated the crowd, Evan slipped his hand into Claire's. It's too crowded, he whispered. I have to hold on to you so I don't lose you. She didn't pull away. His hand was warm, and in the crush of people, it felt safe. Chapter 170. The journey to Happy Valley took over an hour. By the time they arrived, it was 7 in the evening. Evan suggested they grab dinner before heading into the park. At a Sichuan restaurant, Victoria playfully handed the menu to Kevin. You order. As long as Sophia likes it, we'll be fine. Kevin blushed, completely flustered. Evan had to step in and order for everyone. During the meal, he took a quick photo of the group and sent it to Melinda, letting her know they were all safe and having fun. After dinner, Jessica and Victoria complained about the spicy food. Sophia offered to buy them drinks, but Kevin, getting the hint from a sharp nudge from Evan, jumped at the chance. I'll go. What does everyone want? He returned 15 minutes later with water and bubble tea for everyone. As they walked to the park shuttle bus, Evan decided to give his protege another lesson. You know, you can tell a lot about a woman's social life by what she drinks, he said loudly enough for everyone to hear. For example, girls who drink bubble tea have lots of friends. Women who drink red wine have lots of lovers. And women who drink hard liquor have lots of stories. Victoria, who was sipping a bottle of water, held it up. What about those of us who drink water? You pee a lot, Evan deadpanned. The group erupted in laughter. Claire shot him a warning look, and he mimed zipping his lips. They finally entered the park, which was a sea of people. At 9 o'clock, they got in line for the Wooden Dragon, a massive roller coaster. Evan and Claire sat in the third row, with Victoria and Jessica behind them, and Kevin and Sophia in the fifth. As the coaster began its slow climb, Claire squeezed Evan's hand, her eyes shut tight. The girls in the row behind them were squealing with excitement. But the most nervous person on the ride was Kevin. It was his first time at an amusement park. As the coaster reached its peak and paused for a terrifying second, he tried to steel himself. He would not scream for his mother this time. But as the coaster plunged downwards, all his resolve vanished. A gut-wrenching, sobbing scream tore from his throat. Yeah, I'm going to die. Evan just shook his head. Utterly embarrassing. By the time the six of them got off the roller coaster, the girls were giddy with adrenaline. Claire, however, had kept her eyes shut the entire time, her nails digging into Evan's hand. He gently rubbed the marks on his skin as he soothed her. Kevin, on the other hand, was pale as a ghost and could barely stand. Evan couldn't resist a jab. Just checking to see if you wet your pants. They wandered through the park, but the lines for every ride were impossibly long. In the old Shanghai section, Evan offered to take photos of Claire. At first she was hesitant, but her roommates were eager, and soon they were all posing for group shots. Okay, that's enough, Evan said, shooing the others away. Now I want some of just Claire. He snapped a few pictures, then handed his phone to Victoria. Can you get a couple of us together? Claire was a bit shy in front of the camera, but Victoria directed them. A little closer, Claire. Tilt your head towards him. Perfect. Before Claire could escape, Evan pulled her back. One more. He stood behind her, wrapping his arms around her shoulders in a warm embrace. She instinctively rested her hands on his arms as their heads touched. Victoria captured the moment perfectly, Evan smiling, Claire pouting playfully. The girls all crowded around to look at the photos. This one is so good, they gushed. Soon, Evan was playing photographer for all of them. He then discreetly sent the pictures of Sophia to Kevin, and set the photo of him and Claire in the bear hug as his phone's wallpaper. One by one, the girls posted their pictures on social media. Evan decided to post one as well. He chose the one of him and Claire, her head tilted towards his, and wrote the caption, New Year's Eve. With you. 1,000 times over. A minute later, a notification popped up. His mother had sent him a 1,000 yuan transfer, along with a voice message. Son, take that nice girl out for a good meal. And be good to her. She's a keeper. Later, as they rested on a bench, Evan saw Claire rubbing her tired legs. Without a word, he lifted her legs onto his lap and began to gently massage them. She looked around, embarrassed, but didn't pull away. After a few minutes, she leaned her head on his shoulder. Staring up at the star-filled sky, she was suddenly grateful for the drunken boy who had stumbled into her life on a night just like this one. At midnight, a fireworks show was scheduled at the main plaza. Evan looked at his watch. It's almost time. Let's go see the fireworks, and then we can head back. Claire was starting to look sleepy. He noticed her hands were cold, so he took off his own down jacket and draped it over her shoulders. The jacket was big on her, but it was warm. He zipped it up for her and pulled the hood over her head. Aren't you cold? She asked, looking up at him in his thin jacket. He just grinned. I can handle it. They took the park's tram to the plaza, which was already packed with people. Where are the others? Claire asked, looking around in the crowd. They went to the restroom, he said. They'll be back soon. He took her hands and rubbed them between his to warm them up. Evan, she said softly, you can hug me for a little while. The crowd was too loud. What did you say? He asked, leaning closer. I said you can hug me, she repeated, her face turning red. Before the words were even fully out of her mouth, he scooped her up into his arms in a princess carry. She let out a small shriek and instinctively wrapped her arms around his neck. I said hug, not this. Put me down. Nope, he said, grinning. You allowed it. You just weren't specific. She lightly punched his shoulder. You're such a rogue. You're just now figuring that out? The countdown began on a giant screen. 10, 9. As the crowd roared 1, a cascade of fireworks exploded over the water, painting the night sky with brilliant colors. In that moment, Evan lowered his head. Claire, she turned to look at him, and he gently placed her back on her feet. He cupped her face in his hands and kissed her, soft and sweet. The stars, the fireworks, the cheering crowd, it all faded into the background. He pulled back and looked at her, his expression serious. You know, right now, you're 1,000 times more beautiful than any fireworks show. Her cheeks were flushed. She stepped forward and buried her face in his chest. A few feet away, Kevin finally worked up the courage to speak to Sophia. He pulled the Polaroid camera out of his backpack. I got you a New Year's gift. She took it, a surprised but genuine smile on her face. Thank you. He took a deep breath. I hope we can spend next New Year's Eve together too, he blurted out, then quickly corrected himself. I hope we can spend every New Year's Eve together. She just smiled. Maybe. We will. It was 2 a.m. by the time they got back to the hotel. Exhausted, Evan sent Kevin to shower first, then texted Claire to come out of her room. When she opened the door, he handed her the box from the watch store. Happy New Year, he said, showing her the matching watch on his own wrist. I almost forgot to give it to you. She opened it. Inside was the delicate, silver-white lady's watch. She slipped it on. It fits perfectly, she said, her smile radiant. The next morning, Evan was woken up by Kevin, who was already full of energy. What's the plan for today, New Year's Day? You know it's New Year's? Evan grumbled, pulling a pillow over his head. The girl in the next room was screaming Daddy all night. I thought it was Father's Day. I didn't hear anything. Your snoring was louder than she was. At breakfast, they decided on a low-key day. Victoria, being a Shanghai local, invited them all to her house. My parents are in Australia, she explained. The house is empty most of the time. Her home was a charming, three-story Western-style house in a quiet district. Evan and Kevin, who both knew how to cook, volunteered to make lunch. As they prepped in the kitchen, Kevin sought more advice. I feel like things are progressing with Sophia. I can see that. So what's the next step? You live close to her school, Evan said, chopping vegetables. You need to see her in person more often. 1,000 text messages can't compare to 10 words face-to-face. So when can I hold her hand? Kevin whispered. Evan stopped chopping. There's a method to it, he said. You don't just ask. That's a guaranteed rejection. Then what do I do? You create an excuse. Your hands are so small. Let's compare hand sizes. I heard girls' hands are really soft. Wow, your nails look great. Can I read your palm? Kevin's eyes widened. Whoa. While the boys were cooking, the girls were lounging on the sofa, watching TV. Victoria noticed the new watch on Claire's wrist. Is that a gift from Evan? I saw them wearing matching ones at breakfast, Jessica chimed in. Claire just smiled and admired her new watch. It was far less expensive than the Vacheron Constantine her mother had once bought her, but it meant so much more. What did Kevin get you, Sophia? Victoria asked. Sophia admitted he'd given her a Polaroid camera. You have to be careful, Victoria began, launching into another lecture. The first step in a relationship is holding hands. That usually happens within the first couple of weeks. Once that barrier is broken, things start moving fast. She looked at Sophia. Has he held your hand yet? Sophia shook her head vigorously. He wouldn't just ask, can I hold your hand? Victoria continued, warming to her subject. He'll use a trick. He'll say things like, your hands are so small, or let's compare hand sizes, or can I read your palm? He'll use it as an excuse to touch you, and once he's held your hand the first time, there will be a second and a third. Jessica, Sophia, and even Claire listened, completely captivated by this masterclass in male tactics. In the kitchen, Evan and Kevin were working in perfect sync. They prepared a 5-course meal, and the girls were effusive in their praise. Claire, who had tasted some of the finest food in the world, found Evan's cooking to be simply nice. But hearing her friends rave about his skills filled her with a quiet pride. After lunch, Jessica and Sophia volunteered to do the dishes, but Evan quickly intervened. Jessica, you relax. Let Kevin and Sophia handle it. Jessica understood immediately. As the new dishwashing duo disappeared into the kitchen, the rest of the group settled in to watch a movie. The large sofa was a 3-seater, so things were a bit cramped. Evan suggested Claire share the single armchair with him. She hesitated, but Victoria gave her a little shove. Go on. You two are practically an old married couple anyway. So Claire squeezed in next to Evan. And about 15 minutes into the movie, a rather explicit love scene appeared on the screen. The atmosphere in the living room grew thick with awkwardness. No one said a word. The sound of chewing potato chips stopped. Claire's eyes darted around the room, anywhere but the screen. Evan, who had already taken her hand, began to playfully trace patterns on her palm, making her blush even deeper. On the main sofa, Jessica pretended to be engrossed in her phone, while Sophia got up to rummage through the snack bowl. Only Victoria seemed unfazed, watching the screen with a look of detached amusement. When the scene finally ended, a collective, unspoken sigh of relief filled the room. Evan, ever the troublemaker, broke the silence. Should we rewind and watch that again? A chorus of no and pervert came from the girls. Claire just gave his arm a hard pinch. The movie droned on. Evan, who hadn't slept well the night before, soon drifted off. His sleepiness was contagious, and before long, everyone was dozing on the sofas. Claire was trapped, with Evan's arm still loosely around her waist. If she wanted to lie down, she'd have to lie in his arms. After a moment of hesitation, she gently rested her head on his chest and closed her eyes. When Evan awoke, the room was dark. Victoria and Sophia were still asleep, and Jessica was quietly playing on her phone. He looked down and saw Claire, curled up like a kitten, sleeping peacefully in his arms. He carefully reached for his phone on the coffee table and, in selfie mode, started snapping pictures of them. The soft click of the camera woke her up. She blinked, disoriented, then sat up abruptly when she realized where she was. You sleep so soundly, he whispered, showing her the photos. Her face turned crimson. You took pictures of me again. I won't show them to anyone, he promised. Their conversation woke the others. It was already past 5. They realized they needed to get back to their dorms. Just then, Kevin emerged from the yard. He'd been to the supermarket and returned with dumplings for dinner. After a quick meal and a group cleanup, they all headed for the subway. On the ride, Evan's mom called. So, how late did you all stay out last night? About 2 in the morning, he said. Where did you sleep? Not on the street, I hope. At a hotel, Mom. Did you sleep with that girl? He sighed. Mom, am I that kind of person? Hard to say. No, of course not. Kevin and I shared a room. Oh, good. But, he added with a wicked grin, we did sleep together this afternoon. There was a pause, then his mother's voice, full of exasperation. You are truly shameless. How did our family produce someone like you? I'm telling you, you have to take responsibility for her. Evan hung up before his mom could lecture him further. Claire, knowing he'd been talking to his mother, marched over, and gave his back a few light thumps with her fists before storming off. "Hey, where are you going so fast?" he called after her. "Do you even know the way?" She stopped and glared at him until he caught up, then whispered fiercely, "If you ever say things like that again, you are dead." "What did I say that was wrong?" he asked, shamelessly taking her hand again. "I was just telling the truth." She yanked her hand away, stomped on his foot, and ran to join Victoria and the others. Kevin saw the whole exchange and snickered. "What are you laughing at?" Evan demanded. "It's a love tap, man," he said with an air of authority. "You wouldn't get it." After dropping the girls off at their dorm, Evan and Kevin checked into a nearby hotel. Later that night, feeling hungry, they found a small barbecue joint. As they waited for their food, Kevin grew serious. "You know, Victoria and your girlfriend come from well-off families. What if Sophia's family is wealthy too?" "Art school students usually come from good backgrounds," Evan agreed. "Are you worried you won't measure up?" Kevin nodded. "Your girlfriend's mom seems to like you, but Sophia's parents might not approve of me. So what if we weren't born rich?" Evan said, his voice firm. "We'll just have to become self-made men." He looked at his friend's worried face, and a memory from his past life surfaced. A night just like this, two unhappily married men sharing their sorrows over cheap beer. He remembered Kevin's tears the night of his divorce. And he remembered the night he died, lying on the pavement, Kevin holding him, screaming for help. "Don't worry," Evan said, his voice softening. "Stick with me. By the time we graduate, I'll make sure you have a status that no parent could look down on." At the school gate the next day, Evan said his goodbyes to Claire. They agreed not to see each other until after final exams. "You'd better study hard this month," she said. "Don't come looking for me." He pulled her into a hug. To his surprise, she didn't resist, even wrapping an arm around his waist. He held her for a moment, then let go. "I'm really going now," he said with a smile. "Remember to miss me." In the weeks leading up to finals, a studious gloom settled over the dorm. Even Evan, a dedicated slacker, felt the pressure from his roommates and reluctantly picked up a textbook. The words swam before his eyes like a magic spell, lulling him to sleep. He suggested a group study session at the library. The library, usually deserted, was packed with students cramming for exams. Evan found a seat, opened his advanced math textbook, stared at it blankly for 2 pages, then switched to probability theory with the same result. Finally, he tried microeconomics, which was marginally more comprehensible. But within half an hour, he was drowsy again. He gave up, wandering through the stacks until, in a dusty corner, he found a book that truly captured his interest, an appreciation of world erotic cinema. That evening, he texted Claire. "Spent the whole afternoon studying. I'm exhausted." "Keep it up," she replied. "My exams are just basic music theory, so it should be easy." They made plans to travel home together on the 6th, after their exams were finished. He bought the train tickets online and sent her the confirmation. "You in bed already?" he texted. "Yeah." "Video call." "Why? I haven't seen you in a while. I miss your face." "No. I've taken my makeup off, and I haven't washed my hair." "You're beautiful without makeup." "No." "Fine, then let me see your legs." She sent a string of ellipses, followed by, "I knew you were going to say that." He sent a flurry of pleading and pouting emojis. A moment later, a photo appeared. It was a picture of her small, delicate feet peeking out from under her blanket. 10 seconds later, the photo vanished, a notification saying it had been retracted. "What?" he typed frantically. "Why'd you delete it?" "I didn't even get a good look. I clicked the wrong button," she replied, though he knew she was lying. "You're getting devious, you know that?" he wrote. "Fine. I'll send you a picture of my feet. A trade." A single angry emoji was her response. "Who wants to see your ugly feet?" "Okay, how about a picture of my abs then?" "No, I don't want to see it." "Fine, I'll just send it to Victoria and Jessica. I bet they'd like to see it." "Evan, I'm kidding. I'd only show you. Not just show either. I'd let you touch them too." The screen went silent. He had rendered her speechless. The first day of exams arrived. As his counselor had hinted, the proctors were from their own department and were incredibly lenient. Evan's assigned seat was right next to Thomas Lee, the top student in their class. He copied Thomas's answers for the first half of the test, scribbled some nonsense for the long answer questions, and called it a day. He coasted through the rest of his exams in a similar fashion. After his last final on the 5th of February, the semester was officially over. The fruit shop was cleared out and closed for the holiday, and the vending machine company was put on hiatus. With business taken care of, Evan packed his bags and headed straight for Claire. She met him at the school gate. "You didn't even stop for lunch, did you?" she asked. "Nope. I was in a hurry to see you." They walked towards the commercial street, and he took her hand. It was ice cold. "Why are your hands so cold? You're wearing a down jacket." She looked away. "You're not wearing thermal underwear, are you?" Her silence was his answer. They went to the hotel they had stayed at before. "Standard room or a king-sized bed?" The receptionist asked with a knowing smile. "King-sized," Evan said. He was staying alone, so he figured a bigger bed would be more comfortable. But as he said it, he felt a tug on his sleeve. It was Claire. "Can we get another room?" she whispered. "Why?" he asked, confused. Victoria went home this morning. I'm the only one left in my dorm. He was about to ask what was wrong with that, but then it clicked. She was afraid to stay in the empty building by herself. Wait, he said to the receptionist. Actually, let's do a standard room with 2 beds. Are you sure? Positive. In the elevator, Claire confronted him. I thought I told you to get 2 rooms. A standard room has 2 beds, he reasoned. One for you, one for me. It's perfect. Besides, I'm in the startup phase of my business. We need to be frugal. I have my own money, she huffed. Victoria told me not to trust a word you say. You're scared to be in the dorm alone, but you want to stay in a hotel room alone? That doesn't make sense. The school is empty now. Victoria only stayed the last 2 nights because she knew I was scared. When they got to the room, he said calmly, if you really don't trust me, we can get you another room next door after dinner. Seeing his seemingly disappointed expression, she looked at the 2 separate beds, hesitated, and then mumbled, you have to promise you won't try anything. His face instantly broke into a wide grin. I swear. In that moment, she knew she had fallen right into his trap. Again, after dropping their luggage at the hotel, they went out for a meal. Then, Evan took Claire to the mall. He had an important mission, to buy a gold bracelet for his mother. It was part of his plan to finally come clean about his business ventures. What's your mom like? Claire asked as they walked. She's great. A little naggy, but only with me and my dad. He grinned. Why? Worried about getting along with your future mother-in-law. She pushed him away, turning her head to hide her blush. He found a jewelry store and quickly picked out a simple, solid gold bracelet. It cost him just over 8,000 yuan. Should I get one for you too? He asked Claire. No, she said, shaking her head. What kind of college student wears a solid gold bracelet? Then it occurred to him. He should also get a gift for his future mother-in-law. Melinda had lent him 5 million yuan, after all. A simple gold piece wouldn't do for a woman like her. His eyes landed on a display of pearl necklaces. Perfect. He chose an elegant strand for 5,000 yuan. After shopping, they went back to Claire's dorm to pack her things. Evan, seeing her struggle, took over and had her packed in minutes. He noticed the Doraemon plushie he'd given her over the summer sitting on her bed. He handed it to her without a word, and she quickly stuffed it into her suitcase. Just then, her phone rang. It was her father, Harrison. He wants to know when you're coming home, Evan said. You answer it, she replied. He did. Harrison's warm tone immediately turned icy upon hearing Evan's voice. After a brief, clipped exchange, Harrison hung up. Back at the hotel that evening, a nervous energy filled the small room. Evan was sitting on his bed, calmly scrolling through his phone, but Claire couldn't relax. Shower, Evan said suddenly, startling her. You first, or me? You? You go first, she stammered. While he was in the bathroom, she put on some music, turning the volume up to fill the silence. When they were both showered and settled in their separate beds for the night, Evan switched off the lights. Claire finally let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Just as she was drifting off to sleep, she heard his voice from across the dark room. Claire, are you cold? The question hung in the darkness. Claire's heart began to pound again. She knew exactly what that question meant. Victoria had drilled these scenarios into her head. It was a test, a classic opening line. No, I'm not cold, she replied, her voice small. After a moment, she added, can we just sleep now? Okay, he said. Good night. Good night. Reassured, she closed her eyes again and soon drifted into a deep sleep. Evan, on the other hand, tossed and turned until the early hours of the morning. The next morning, Kevin met them downstairs at the hotel. Seeing Evan's exhausted, hollowed-out expression, he leaned in and whispered, You're a real beast, man. Evan just yawned, too tired to explain that absolutely nothing had happened. He didn't mind the misunderstanding, though. As they were leaving the hotel, Claire had taken his hand, a small but significant shift. True love, he knew, wasn't rushed. It unfolded naturally. On the high-speed train back to Zhangzhou, Evan leaned his head on Claire's shoulder and fell asleep almost instantly. She felt a warmth spread through her from where he touched her. Remembering all the times he had secretly taken photos of her, she quietly pulled out her phone and snapped a few of her own. In the aisle seat, Kevin watched them, feeling an odd sense of fullness despite having barely eaten breakfast. At 1 p.m, they arrived. Melinda was waiting for them at the station exit, but she wasn't alone. Harrison was there too, looking stern. He was clearly displeased to see them wearing matching down jackets and, as Melinda later pointed out to him, matching watches. At the restaurant, Harrison fussed over Claire, piling food onto her plate. She, in turn, simply transferred all of it to Evan's bowl. The sight was like a dagger to Harrison's heart. Throughout the meal, Evan, Claire, and Melinda chatted and laughed like a real family. Harrison sat in silence, an outsider at his own table. He wanted to join in, but he didn't know what to say. He had to admit, his daughter had changed for the better over the past 6 months. She was happier, more open, and though he hated to admit it, he knew it was all because of Evan. His only fear now was that this charming little rascal would steal his daughter's heart completely. After lunch, Melinda drove Evan home. On the way, she asked about his investment in MiHoYo. He explained how he met Kai Haoyu and made the decision to invest after their first meeting. That was a huge gamble, she remarked. I've always been lucky, he said with a smile. He then handed her back the bank card she had given him. The $5 million needs to be paid back within 2 years, which is about $210,000 a month. I've already deposited the first payment. She took the card. Won't that much pressure be too hard on you? Pressure creates motivation, he replied. Besides, the stock market is still rising, and I'm expecting dividends from MiHoYo by the end of the year. As they pulled up to his neighborhood, Evan handed her a jewelry box from the bag at his feet. This is a little something for you, Andy. A gift? What for? Well, he began. I was buying a gift for my own mom, and since Claire was there, I figured I should treat both mothers equally. It's nothing expensive, please accept it. She opened the box. Instead of the gold jewelry she was expecting, she found an elegant string of white pearls. A wide smile spread across her face. In that case, I'll gladly accept. As Evan walked into his building, Melinda pulled down the vanity mirror, fastened the pearl necklace around her neck, and admired it for a long time before driving off, beaming. The price of the gift didn't matter. What struck her was his phrase, treat both mothers equally. In her mind, it was his subconscious way of saying he already considered her a mother. Back at her own home, Harrison was still there. Claire immediately noticed the new necklace. When Harrison asked where it came from, Melinda simply said, it was a gift. He tensed up. From who? That's none of your business, she said coolly. Claire chimed in softly. I thought Evan was buying it for his own mom. That was both good news and bad news for Harrison. Good, because it wasn't from a rival. Bad, because it seemed Evan had completely won over his ex-wife. How much did that cost? Harrison asked dismissively. 5,000, Claire said. Harrison scoffed. And you're this happy over a 5,000 yuan necklace? After you lent him. Melinda cut him off with a sharp look. That has nothing to do with you. The first couple of days back home were blissfully quiet. Then, on Monday, his Aunt Lana arrived with his younger cousin, Reina, who was now on winter break. Reina had grown taller and lost her baby fat, but her personality was as boisterous as ever. She was staying for a few days, and Evan's piece was officially over. The next morning, as soon as his parents left for work, Reina was knocking on his door. He groggily handed her 200 yuan. Go buy yourself whatever you want. Just please, let your big brother sleep a little longer. Until when? She asked, ignoring the money. 8:30. Okay, I'll do my homework and wake you up then. True to her word, at precisely 8:30, she was knocking again. As he ate breakfast, she began her interrogation. So, how are things with you and Sister Claire? Good. Does Annie know you're dating? She's known for a while. Do you have a lot of free time in college? Yep. So then. Stop, he interrupted. Quiet time. Let me have some peace. I'll take you and your sister-in-law shopping this afternoon. That got her to seal her lips, though she bounced in her seat with excitement. Later, he texted Claire. Want to go out this afternoon? Okay. What time are you coming? Around 1 or 2. I've got a little barnacle attached to me. Reina? Yeah. I think she must have been a school loudspeaker in a past life. Claire sent a laughing emoji. What are you doing now? Just thinking. Thinking about what? Something on your mind. Yes, he typed back. What's on my mind is asking me what's on my mind. From her sofa, Melinda watched her daughter text, a constant, gentle smile on her face. She knew it was Evan. That afternoon, Claire came downstairs dressed to go out, her hair in a high ponytail. Evan is coming, and we're going shopping, she announced. Let him drive the minivan, Melinda said. I have to go back to the company. It will be much more convenient for you all to have a car. When Evan arrived, Claire handed him the keys, and the three of them set off. The moment the car started moving, Reina's vow of silence ended. Sister Claire, where are we going? Ask your brother. Is your school far from his? Ask your brother. Reina giggled. Okay, I get it. You have to ask my brother about everything now. Then, turning to Evan, she complained, Brother Evan is so mean. He threatened me this morning. He threatened you? Claire asked. Yes. He said if I kept chattering, he'd leave me at home and not take me out to play. The trio spent the afternoon at a massive shopping complex, grazing at the food court, playing games at the arcade, and relaxing at a dessert cafe. As they were leaving, a young man in the elevator stared at Evan in disbelief. It was Dylan Zhang, a former high school classmate. He barely recognized Evan, who had transformed from a quiet, unremarkable student into a confident young man with a stunningly beautiful girl by his side. When he saw Evan get into a luxury minivan in the parking garage, Dylan was glad he hadn't said hello. After dropping Claire off, Evan drove Reina home. His father, Daniel, came home a few minutes later, grumbling as he took off his shoes. Some jerk took my parking spot downstairs. Who does he think he is, driving a fancy minivan like that? Dad, was it a black minivan? Evan asked. How did you know? Evan pulled a car key from his pocket. Because that was me. Were you just cursing me out? Daniel's jaw dropped. He had just spent 5 minutes mentally insulting the driver, who turned out to be his own son. You drove that? Where did you get a car? It's my girlfriend's family's car. Seriously? After Reina confirmed it, Daniel snatched the keys from Evan's hand. Your old man has been driving the same beat-up sedan for 10 years, and you're already driving a car like this? Come on, let's go for a spin. Evan reluctantly took his giddy father downstairs for a test drive. Watching Daniel's childlike excitement, Evan made a mental note to buy his dad a nice car one day. On the way back upstairs, Evan asked quietly, "Dad, do you remember what tomorrow is?" "Your mom's birthday." "Oh, you remembered." "Of course I remember. I've made her longevity noodles every year, haven't I?" "What are you getting her this year?" Daniel shrugged. "We've been married for so long. A nice dinner out is enough to make her happy." Evan put an arm around his father's shoulder. "Dad, I'm going to transfer you 3,000 yuan tonight. Go buy Mom a new phone tomorrow. Her screen is all cracked. Tell her it's from you. Make her happy." "All right, that's a good idea." Daniel's heart swelled with pride. He pulled his son into a hug. "You brat, you've finally grown up." The next evening, while his parents were at work, Evan's mom, Hannah, scolded him for giving his cousin silly answers to her homework questions. "You need to be more serious," she said. "If you act like this all the time, your future mother-in-law will never approve of you." "She already does," Evan boasted. "She likes me a lot, actually." Hannah's interest was piqued. "So the girl's mother knows you're dating? And she hasn't tried to stop you?" "She knew before you did. She wishes I would just marry into their family." Hannah scoffed, but she was intrigued. "Let me see another picture of this girl." Evan pulled out his phone, and Hannah crowded in to look. His photo album was filled with pictures of Claire, posed shots, candid photos, and a few he had secretly taken. "Son, when are you going to bring her home for me to meet?" "Not for a while. She's very shy. She looks like such a sweet girl. What's her name again?" "Claire Chun." Just then, a message from Claire popped up on the screen. Evan snatched his phone back. "I'm going to my room, Mom. You should get some rest." The next morning, Evan woke up early. It was his mother's birthday. He tiptoed into the kitchen and began preparing her a traditional bowl of longevity noodles. When his parents woke up to the fragrant aroma, Hannah was stunned. Seeing her son present her with the steaming bowl of noodles, her eyes welled up with tears. "This is 100 times better than your father's," she declared after the first bite. Later, Evan gave his dad a subtle nod. Daniel cleared his throat and presented Hannah with the new phone. She chided him for spending money, but her eyes shone with happiness. Evan then sat them both down. "Mom, Dad, there's something I need to confess." Hannah's face tightened with worry. "What is it?" "You have to promise to stay calm." She looked horrified. "You didn't get your girlfriend pregnant, did you?" "What? No, of course not." She let out a sigh of relief. "Then what is it?" "I started a small business at school," he said slowly. "And over the last 6 months, I've made a little money." "A business? Did you lose any money?" "No, I actually made money. About over 200,000. His parents froze. Together, they didn't even make that much in a year. "Really?" To prove it, he showed them the balance in his bank account. Hannah stared at the number, then turned and slapped her husband hard on the thigh. "Ow!" Daniel yelped. "What was that for?" She looked at him, her expression dazed. "I was just checking to see if I was dreaming." After his parents left for work, Evan took Raina back to the Maplewood estate. Having a car was incredibly convenient. That afternoon, he drove Claire and Raina to pick out a birthday cake for his mom. On the way back, he asked, "Claire, do you want to come home with me tonight for the celebration?" She squirmed, unable to answer. The thought of meeting his parents was terrifying. "It's okay," he said gently. "I already told my mom you're too shy to come over just yet. No pressure. We have plenty of time." Back at his apartment, he and Raina quickly tidied up, setting the cake on the dining table. "You be the lookout," he told his cousin. "When you see Annie coming, give me a signal so we can surprise her." A short while later, Raina shouted, "Uncle's here." Daniel came in and saw the preparations. "Your mom is going to be so happy," he said, beaming. He then handed Evan a box. "I got the more expensive version of the phone you wanted. Pitched in a couple hundred myself." When Raina announced Hannah's arrival, Evan lit the candles and Daniel shut off the lights. Hannah walked into the dark apartment, confused. Suddenly, the three of them emerged from the shadows, singing "Happy Birthday." Tears immediately sprang to her eyes. She'd never had a surprise like this before. After she made a wish and blew out the candles, they all sat down. Evan watched his father present the new phone again, playing his part perfectly. "Mom, there was one more gift I wanted to give you," Evan said, then paused for dramatic effect. When he had their full attention, he told them the full story about the fruit stand, the vending machines, and finally, the trading company. It was a carefully edited version, of course. He didn't mention the millions from Melinda or the stock market. He simply presented himself as a hard-working, clever entrepreneur. When he was finished, he took a deep breath. "This is for you." He slid a bank card across the table. "There's 200,000 on here. It's for you and Dad." His parents were speechless. The amount of money was staggering. But more than that, they were overwhelmed with pride. Hannah picked up the card, her hands trembling. Then she looked at her husband, then back at her son, and a huge, radiant smile broke across her face. Her son had truly grown up. Evan had just settled into bed when he got a message from Kevin, asking what he was up to. He sent back a voice message: "Eating, drinking, and spending time with my girlfriend." Kevin replied, "You won't believe it. I've been home for less than a week, and I've already gained 4 pounds. My mom is feeding me like a pig. Evan chuckled, then remembered how Kevin looked a few years down the line in his past life. You need to watch your figure, he advised. Then, thinking of his own health, he added, let's go for a run tomorrow morning. The next morning, Kevin was at the designated meeting spot at 6:30 sharp, but Evan was nowhere to be seen. He didn't show up until after 7. Dude, what happened? Kevin grumbled, shivering in the cold. Evan just jogged past him. Sorry, had to use the bathroom. Come on, I'll buy you a Red Bull later. After a grueling 50-minute run, they sat on a bus bench, chugging their energy drinks. This Saturday is Valentine's Day, Kevin said. What are your plans? Evan checked his phone. Wow, you're right. I guess I'll take her out for dinner, get her some roses. She's pretty easy to please. I envy you guys, Kevin sighed. I think I need to be more assertive with Sophia. You need to be bolder, Evan agreed. But she seems so reserved. I'm afraid if I... Evan cut him off. You shouldn't be afraid that she's reserved. You should be afraid that she's only reserved with you. He leaned in, taking on the tone of a seasoned mentor. Look, when you like someone, you get scared. You overthink every word, every move. You're wearing a social mask, trying to show them only your best side. But that's just people-pleasing. Girls are attracted to confidence, to guys who are genuine and relaxed. That's why some girls choose the bad boy over the nice guy. You need to drop the act and just be yourself, the way you are with me. Kevin nodded slowly. I know all that. I just choke when it matters. That's on you, Evan said, clapping him on the shoulder. As the old masters say, he who hesitates is lost. I can't help you if you won't help yourself. Come on, let's go home. My legs are killing me. I should have driven. You have a car? My mother-in-law's. That evening, Evan drove to the Maplewood estate to pick up Claire. They went to the Meat Music Pub, a place they'd frequented over the summer. The bar was nearly empty. Nina, the bartender, almost didn't recognize him. Evan, wow, college has changed you. Vivian, the owner, came out from the back room, equally surprised. My God, you got even more handsome. Though just as shameless as ever, I see. Evan laughed. Hey, be nice. My girlfriend's right here. Vivian pulled Claire into a friendly hug. I knew you two would get together. Come sit. Business is dead tonight, so we can chat. They caught up on life. Evan mentioned he'd started a small business with some friends. What kind of business? Vivian asked. A fruit shop and a small trading company. I'm the boss, of course. Really? Really? In fact, you should probably start calling me Bossu now. Seeing how slow business was, Evan asked. Are you even making any money here? Nina shook her head. We've been losing money for 3 months straight. Vivian sighed. I never opened this place to get rich. It was just something to do. But I can't keep losing money forever. The market for this kind of quiet bar is mostly young people, Evan analyzed. If you want to keep running a business, you need to switch to a more profitable industry. Like what? If you want to make money in this country, he began, leaning forward like a seasoned investor. You sell beauty to women, time to the rich, health to the elderly, education to children, and performance to men. The 3 women rolled their eyes. I'm serious, he said. What about fashion design? Vivian asked. I studied it in college. Then combine your passion with what I just said, Evan replied. Design swimwear or lingerie. You handle the design and business side, and hire others for the rest. That's an interesting idea. If you're serious, I could invest. Are you kidding? Not at all. Evan stood up and pulled Claire to her feet. With a perfectly straight face, he announced, Allow me to reintroduce myself. I am Evan Su, head of Qingye Investments. This is my partner, Claire Chun. Claire was just as stunned as Vivian and Nina. Qingye Investments? Since when was she a partner? Evan sat back down, grinning. I was going to keep playing the part of a regular guy, but you're not strangers. I figured I'd just come clean. Vivian laughed. Oh, listen to you. They chatted until late. On the drive home, Claire asked about Vivian. Evan explained the story of her fiancé who had died right before their wedding. That's why she seems like she has so many stories behind her eyes, Claire mused. If something like that ever happened to me, Evan began, but Claire quickly covered his mouth with her hand. Don't say things like that, she said, her voice stern. A few days later, it was a local holiday marking the final preparations before the Lunar New Year. After their morning run, Evan and his family did a massive house cleaning. Afterwards, he checked his phone. His roommates were messaging about their final exam results, which had just been posted online. He logged into the school portal. He had passed everything, with grades hovering safely in the mid-60s. His roommates had all passed too, much to Frankie's relief, who had scraped by with a perfect 60 in one of his classes. The dorm group chat lit up with banter. In Claire's dorm chat, the girls were complaining about holiday boredom. Victoria posted a picture of a dress she was trying on. Does this look good? She asked. Evan, who was also in the chat, couldn't resist. It needs boots, gold-rimmed glasses, and a riding crop to be perfect. How did you little pervert, get in here? Victoria typed back. She then complained that her period had just started. The other girls offered sympathy. Evan typed, get well soon, 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 soon. Victoria replied, what's that supposed to mean? Evan wrote back, see? You're feeling better soon. The chat exploded with laughing emojis from the other girls. As the new year approached, the small city came alive with a festive energy that was absent in Shanghai. On Saturday, Valentine's Day, Evan was about to head out when his mother sighed dramatically from the sofa. Some people get a girlfriend and forget all about their poor old mother. Evan immediately sat down next to her. Mom, if you don't want me to go, I'll stay. But do you know what day it is? He kicked his father gently. Dad, tell her. His dad grinned. It's Valentine's Day. Hannah's tone changed instantly. Well, what are you still doing here? Go on your date. Evan feigned being hurt. But you just said I was forgetting you. I was joking. Now get out of here, she said, laughing as she pushed him toward the door. He picked up Claire, then swung by to get his cousin, Raina. He and Claire had decided to include the lonely girl in their afternoon plans. The moment she got in the car, Raina started talking and didn't stop. They went to an old pedestrian street, a bustling hub of holiday shoppers and food stalls. Raina pointed out every snack she wanted, from roasted chestnuts to candied hawthorns, and Evan dutifully paid for everything. After her fifth request, he finally put a hand over her mouth. One more word, and I'm leaving you here. She looked at him with wide, pleading eyes until he relented. Claire immediately scolded him. It's just a little money. It's not the money, he grumbled. We can't possibly eat all this. I can take some home for my mom, Claire said. Evan's expression changed in a flash. Oh, well in that case, I'll go buy a fresh portion just for her. You're so biased, brother Evan. Raina pouted. Adults are talking, kiddo. Be quiet. They wandered for a couple of hours until Evan's aunt called, telling him to bring Raina home. On the way, Raina, who knew it was Valentine's Day, gave him a little fist pump for good luck as she got out of the car. Now alone, Evan turned to Claire. So, where to for dinner? I don't know. You decide. It's always you decide, he teased. Have you noticed? You're starting to depend on me. I am not, she said, turning to look out the window, a blush creeping up her cheeks. Evan chose an upscale restaurant with a romantic ambience, private booths, soft lighting, and gentle piano music. After they ordered, he leaned forward. Claire, do you know what day it is today? She knew perfectly well, but she played dumb and shook her head. Then let me show you some magic. He produced a small stick, which burst into flame at the tip. Blow on it, he instructed. She leaned in and blew gently. With a flick of his wrist, the flame vanished, replaced by a perfect, vibrant red rose. Her eyes widened in surprise. For you, he said, handing it to her. I wanted to get you a whole bouquet, but I figured it would be awkward to bring it home with your mom there. This is a bit more discreet. No, she said, smiling as she examined the clever trick rose. This is perfect. As they ate, he discreetly glanced around the restaurant. His eyes landed on a familiar figure a few tables away, Claire's father, Harrison. Evan froze. He was about to go over and say hello when he saw who Harrison was with. It was a woman, and it was clearly a date. He quickly sat back down, his mind racing. He decided it was best not to say anything to Claire. At the other table, the woman was direct. Harrison, we're not young anymore. I think it's time we considered building a new family together. Harrison was silent for a moment. I'm sorry, he said gently. I can't. I still have a daughter. Your daughter lives with your ex-wife, and she's in college. Seeing the look on his face, she asked softly. You still have feelings for your ex-wife, don't you? He simply nodded. After dinner, Evan drove Claire home, his thoughts still churning. In the car outside her house, she finally asked, What's on your mind? He quickly recovered, a mischievous grin spreading across his face. It's Valentine's Day, and I've been trying to figure out how to trick you into giving me a kiss all night. You're a jerk, she said, turning to get out of the car. But he had already locked the doors. Let me out. One kiss. No. Then we'll sit here all night. She finally relented. After he dropped her off, Evan sat in the car for a moment, a plan forming in his mind. He pulled out his phone and sent a text to Harrison. Mr. Chun, I saw you having dinner with an auntie tonight. I'm sure you wouldn't want Auntie Melinda to find out about that, would you?